James Wayne, Central Piedmont Community College, SGD 111 N884. I'm creating a video about a one-page concept inspired by a specific game style. For this video, I have researched Western RPGs as a template for my game. The search came up with many descriptions of Western RPG, open world and player choice, character customization, realistic or gritty settings, mature themes, dialogue systems. We'll take a look at the open world choice and basically walk anywhere, day or night, side quests, and basic storyline, which I know that open world is big in World of Warcraft, and you can basically walk up to a major city and buy any equipment that you want, and day and night occurs in Skyrim, Oblivion, and Skyrim, and those games have been remade on PS5. I know that the Steam Deck has the update for Oblivion with all of the grasslands and forests. It became a massive hit, and it was the first to do it further than Morrowind, and Morrowind was also open world, and it would literally take you 3 days to cross an environment, which is why they had the fast travel vehicle service. You ride a big bug to every city in Morrowind. But player choice, that's about dialogue decisions. You can talk your way into lower prices in a store in Skyrim. You can barter with the store owner. And stealth versus combat, I've done the stealth type gameplay before, but it got old. But now that I have a steady combat character, I've never gone back. But my Oblivion guy is combat and magic, so it's combat and melee combined. But it says here stealth versus combat, magic versus melee. My guy is a hybrid of all four of those concepts. But NPC responses to dialogue, it says it does that in the player choice. And there are multiple plot outcomes based on who you talk to in Skyrim, and I think that's cool. And character customization overview, you can literally build your appearance in Skyrim. And Skyrim is known to have orcs, high elves, dark elves, humans, Khajiits. All of those, you can customize their hair and their skin tone. And then second, you get to pick, when you level up in Skyrim, your strength or magic meter. So it's either HP, magic, or stamina, and I usually go 330 magicka and uncap on the stamina. I just go further and further with the stamina, and I usually pick the high elf for the plus 30 magicka when I pick a character, and I use the summon character, the Dremora Lords, while I sit back with the bound bow. And that's customizable too. You can pick which weapons you want. But the backstory for each character is listed here. It says backstory. And the voice and animation, the Khajiits sound like they're from Central Asia, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan. Because, the Arab influence over there, that's the culture that you're seeing here in the game. The Arab accent and the Khajiit character. And let's see, realistic versus gritty settings. So, like, the realistic settings are based on real physics in gameplay and mundane details to enhance immersion. So, basically, if you're bored all day and you come over and play, it's the same amount of boredom in an entertaining concept. If you know what I'm saying. Like, the more literal the game gets, the more adaptable it will be into gameplay. I don't know if you understand that, but it's like playing Disgaea after going to detention for an hour. Just kidding. Anyway, believable reactions is a big deal in gaming, because if the character responds more correctly, it's better gameplay. Anyway, gritty settings, the bad side of reality. So drugs, violence, sex, rock and roll, all that. But gritty can also be bleak, and bad character traits like disease and bad language and violence and crime dramas. That's gritty. That's the dark side of criminality. And post-apocalyptic fiction is also gritty. Fallout 4 and anyway. Mature themes in gaming. You got violence and gore, the most common, sexual content, substance abuse, psychological trauma, death and grief, and political social commentary. So basically what you're dealing with is a whole bunch of violent games that release. The desensitized public need to hear that it is violent, that you're not just watching, you're watching violence and death and grief, that you need to slap on that warning. And then the dialogue systems of gaming, the storytelling, how a story is presented. Story is one of the three components of a game, as stated by Shigeru Miyamoto. Story, visuals, gameplay, that's his criteria for a great game. And the player agency, the different outcomes to the story based on decisions. We've talked about this earlier, where you make a decision and you may or may not level your character based on the reaction that you get. You can actually level your character in Skyrim if you answer correctly to unlock a quest, or get paid more money for a quest, or sell an item for more money. And that's basically player agency. But world building, culture within the game, that's more or less like in Skyrim. There are books, like real books that you can read, like the Daedric Book of the Dead, or Nights Be Gone, or I like this one. There Be Dragons. There Be Dragons was one of the books you could read. But quest management is also a purpose of dialogue systems, because it marks the start and completion of your missions. And I thought that was necessary. And now, types of dialogue systems: the linear dialogue, the scripted path, and branching dialogue, the choices that influence gameplay. But dialogue trees are a web of decisions that come off of the branching in linear dialogues, and they go toward plot progression. But dynamic and reactive dialogue is due to the past decisions. That is how this dialogue will go. And anyway, I've decided to base my game on the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. The Elder Scrolls series is a fantasy adventure game by Bethesda. I have personally played the third Morrowind, the fourth Oblivion, and the fifth Skyrim. These games are great, and I love Skyrim especially. I have been playing for years, and every time I do, I find something new that I missed before. Bethesda is highly acclaimed, and anything that they churn out is automatically gold. Here's what the search engine built for me that my game will be based on, and it's called Ashes of the Frontier, and it says Western Fantasy RPG, Open World Action Stealth Magic Hybrid. So This game is set in the Broken Realms, and it is about desert canyons, frontier towns, haunted mines, dense pine forests, and ancient ruins. This is kind of like Red Dead Redemption, it says, but with the fantasy twist. So basically, you are a warden from the Flame Pact, a protector of the powerful force that holds back the curse of the Ash Blight. This curse affects everyone, including men and beasts. After almost dying, you awaken with the mark of the Ember Brand. This gives you powers that call upon the gods, warlords, and demons. There are 5 factions in the game: the Dustborn, the Iron Chain, Ash Saints, the Hallowed Court, and Wardens of Flame. The Dustborn are rugged survivalists seeking to reclaim the land. The Iron Chain, a technocratic slaver guild. Ash Saints, fanatics who believe the Blight is divine will. The Hallowed Court, Blight-corrupted warlocks. Wardens of Flame, your old order, now scattered and fractured. The core mechanics are first and third person camera view, day and night character customization, and the character classes: Gunslinger, ranged weapons, explosives; Hexblade, cursed melee weapons, dark magic; and Spirit Caller, nature and ancestral magic. Magic system: magic is based on the depletion of embers. You collect these embers from ancient ruins. If you use magic too often, you might turn into a beast. Combat: slow time for gunslinging, stamina for melee weapons, and dual wielding for magic and guns. The world structure: zones: Ashvale, Cursed Forest with Beasts, Ironhook Gulch, Bandit Mining Town, the Sunken Cathedral, Massive Dungeon, City of the Hallowed Court, Warden's Reach. You start the game here. Exploration: monster encounters, hidden shrines, tombs, and outlaw hideouts. Mounts, horses, dire wolves, mechanical beetles. Main quest: find out about the Ash Blight and either cleanse it or embrace it. Side quests: bounty hunting, faction missions, ghost stories, and folklore into missions. Companion characters. Unique feature: the Blight balance system. You enter Ash form, a powerful but dangerous state. Choices, quests, and endings are affected by how much ash you have used. Art and tone: stylized, gritty realism like Witcher 3. Steampunk Western aesthetics. Haunting, minimalist soundtrack with slide guitar, violins, and ambient echoes. The ChatGPT search has given me a game that looks good. It reminds me of some of the Bethesda games I have played before. The character I have chosen to start the game is fashioned from Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. I want to make this game as Bethesda Elder Scrolls as possible. So let me tell you people which character I want for the first playthrough. It is an orc that has specialties in acrobatics, athletics, blunt, conjuration, heavy armor, destruction magic, marksman, and restoration magic. These abilities have been tested over and over to be successful based on Bethesda-style gameplay, which is what my game is based on. This orc has heavy armor and Daedric bow and Daedric arrows. Also, it has elemental magic and Daedric magic that can summon different monsters such as skeletons and zombies. Throughout the game, this orc will learn better magic, but it will be dependent on its bow for a while. This character has been tested and proven in battle in Oblivion for PC and Xbox 360. What else could we do to the game? There needs to be over 50 quests in the game. Also, there needs to be more areas to do quests in. What if we added more cities and wilderness areas too? There needs to be area clearing and unlocking for these areas so that the player can warp travel to each area on the map. What if we added a quest completion system that tracks all of the quests in the game simply by joining a guild? Membership in this guild could be beneficial in this way. Thank you for listening.